Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Arizona Illustrated for Friday, the 2nd of November, 2012. I'm Jim Ninsel, host of Political Roundtable, our weekly analysis and commentary on local, state, and national politics. Tonight is our final show before Tuesday's big election, so we'll talk about the most competitive races we've been following for the last several months. Joining me this evening is Pima County Democratic Party Chairman Jeff Rogers, Tucson Tea Party founder Trent Humphries, Tucson City Councilman Steve Kozachik, and National Republican Committeeman Bruce Ash. Thanks to all of you guys for being here. We are just days away from the big election on Tuesday. Big closing arguments are being settled here. The get out the vote efforts are underway. Bruce, let's talk about the U.S. Senate race. That's one that I think everyone's watching here. And the big kerfuffle over the last few days seems to have been this ad that Richard Carmona made where he repeated the praise that he received from John Kyle and John McCain during his Surgeon General confirmation hearings. And that's led to the senators calling foul on him on that one.
Well, probably the most important thing in politics is trust and honesty. And what Richard Carmona's handlers did in that ad just wasn't honest and it wasn't accurate. It was a different time. It was a different position. And frankly, he had been asked several times to run for Republican opportunities and kind of jerk party officials around. They don't trust him, and they haven't for a long time now.
Jeff, fair game in that race?
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely fair game. I think, first off, it was honest. You could see on the ad that it says that it was during the confirmation hearings 10 years ago. Secondly, I mean, this just shows you what hypocrites Kyle and McCain really are. E.J. Montini has a wonderful article in today's Arizona Republic that talks about, you know, he doesn't know who the winner of the Senate race is going to be, but he knows who the losers are, and the losers are Kyle and McCain for their behavior in this episode. So, and I have to agree with him. Carmona hasn't changed in 10 years, but what has changed is that when he had to finally decide he was going to run for something and he decided he was going to run as a Democrat, and after all, who could blame him? I mean, as you know, he's a doctor, for God's sakes. You're going to run for the party that doesn't believe in science and evolution and all these other things, or are you going to run with a party that does believe in those things? And he saw some of the kinds of things that Republicans did to politicize science as the Surgeon General. So I think it was a wonderful ad, and I actually think that the attack against the ad didn't work and won't work for Flake. So I think we're going to see a close race there, very close race.
Trent, where do you think this one's at?
Well, I know that the polling, for some reason, the polling has been, at least legitimate polling has been few and far between. And the one that I look at was, the Rasmussen poll was a couple weeks ago, where it was 48, 41. And so Flake's just about there. And I think with Romney's going to roll here in Arizona. I think he gets over that 50, and he's our next senator.
We've had that polling has been from the Carmona campaign. It showed a competitive race. From the Flake campaign, it showed Flake in the lead. Steve, you've crossed party lines to support Richard Carmona in this race.
Well, let me comment first of all about this crossing the lines issue, and then I'll talk about the Flake thing, because that issue of crossing lines goes both ways. This Republican Party has lurched so far to the right that it has crossed multiple lines, and let me describe a few for you. This is now the party of legitimate rape. This is now the party that a woman has the amazing ability.
It's not the party of legitimate rape.
Let me finish. This is the party now.
You're mischaracterizing.
This is the party now. This wasn't a Democrat who said that. Who now says a woman has an amazing ability to shut down her reproductive system if she's raped. It's the party that says if you conceive in rape, then all of a sudden it's God's will. This is the party of guns on public facilities, public parks, public schools, political rallies. It is the birther bill party. It is the party that says we're going to videotape fetuses. You guys have lurched so far to the right you can't see the center with a telescope at this point. So crossing lines cuts both ways. I have no compunctions at all about any of the candidates that I've endorsed in this campaign, irrespective of party affiliation, and I've endorsed both Republicans and Democrats. As far as the Flake and Carmona campaign is concerned, amazing comment that you just made, Bruce, about dishonesty in the Carmona campaign. The ads that the Flake campaign has been running in the last few weeks are nothing short of gutter politics of character assassination on Richard Carmona. This is a win at all costs. We'll do whatever it takes to win, and we'll pick up the pieces the day after the election is over. Carmona is being painted as somebody that he is not now, nor has he ever been, and I am hoping that anybody who is even mildly on the fence going into the election day pulls the lever for Richard Carmona and delivers a message to the slimy politicians who are playing those gutter political games that we are not going to embrace that in this community.
Bruce, I suppose we should have a chance for you to respond.
Yeah, well, Steve, you say that you're a Republican. You criticize as you have. You're entitled to your opinion. The fact of the matter is, it doesn't change the facts. Richard Carmona is erratic. He is unpredictable. He's not a maverick. He's just unpredictable, and he's not trustworthy. And that's what the problem is here. Character counts when 100 men decide the fate of this country. And frankly, I've known Richard Carmona for 20 years. I don't think he's very reliable. I think he's erratic. I don't think he would make a good senator. And you can quote all you want about birthers and guns and rape and all this sort of thing. You were so far off the mark that the Republican Party endorses any of that, Steve. Nobody who listens to you here this evening and nobody who's listened to you in the past believes you because your comments are totally partisan. You are the most partisan, nonpartisan, independent political person I have ever met.
Partisan, nonpartisan.
Yeah, that's interesting. Those were clever.
I don't claim to be partisan. I don't claim to be nonpartisan. You do.
I have never voted a straight ticket in my life, if that's anything.
Good for you.
So
that's
that
the
speaks.
American way.
But last time you've done it, let's roll those dice on you. But those were clever sound bites that you've memorized, Bruce. The fact of the matter, though, is
Speaking
that
from the heart, brother.
is that I also have known Richard Carmona for over 2 decades. This guy is a quality human being. He has served this community well. The Republicans reached out to him, recognizing what a quality guy he was.
Richard Carmona served himself.
Wanted him to be the standard bearer for the Republican Party. That's the facts of the matter. I'm sorry, Bruce, but you know what? If the centrists in this party, like me, don't take it back this time, the whack fringe is going to run this party right into the ground, and guys like me might as well re-register as independents or Democrat, because you guys are going to run the party into the ground.
Be my guest. I'm there to bring the registration form to you.
I will suggest one thing to you about the polling that was mentioned here. You wouldn't see this gutter politics coming from the Flake campaign if this wasn't a close race, and they know it's a close race. And you wouldn't see all this outside money flowing in for him either.
This is the control of the Senate, Jeff. This is what it's all about, and we're not going to lose this seat.
So this is a very close race, and it will be till the very end.
Let's talk about our Congressional District 1 race. That's the race that has Jonathan Payton, the Republican, running against Ann Kirkpatrick, the Democrat. A small part of this district's in southern Arizona, in Marana and Oro Valley. A lot of it's in eastern Arizona and then up into northern Arizona. This has been a race where it looks like Jonathan Payton is building some momentum, Trent.
Yeah, and like I said, I was on this show a while ago, and I encourage Democrats to vote for Winona because she at least was an honest, she believes in the party platform, and she actually, brings passion and a message, whereas, Kirkpatrick is a limp fish. I mean, everything she does reeks of desperation. There are two areas where it's not okay to be desperate, and that's in politics and dating. And she's violated that rule. I mean, everything she does is desperate. If you can't even get an endorsement being a liberal Democrat from the Tucson Weekly, well, then there's a problem. And I think that she's just everything she does. And we talked about desperation, and there it is. And I think Jonathan Payton rolls in that election.
Well, the problem here is that she's not a liberal Democrat, and as Jim and the Weekly have noted many times, she's a very independent, middle-of-the-road person, which is exactly what will win in that district. Jonathan Payton is not. Jonathan Payton stands for the same kinds of things we were just talking about here in the discussion between Bruce and Steve. So, I don't think that this largely rural district is going to embrace a former payday loan lobbyist who's carpetbagging in that district and can't even find his way around the district without a GPS device. I mean, really, he's lived in that district for just a few months.
On Jonathan Payton? Are you serious? Are you serious? That is the most dishonest attack ad, and you called it out in your newspaper rightly.
Yeah, well, that was an ad when you started saying that Jonathan was responsible for the $200 million in spending.
No, Jonathan was responsible for about $1 million in payments to lawyers that should have never been made. He was not on there when the rest of that stuff was
That was the most dishonest political ad of the cycle. You called it out rightly, and she deserves to lose just for that ad.
Well, she will. She's imploded.
Well, I hardly think so. Our polling doesn't show that at all. It shows that I will have to say that Peyton has closed the gap. She was well ahead in the polling we had seen, and the gap has been closed, and it's going to be a close one.
This is a slightly Democratic district, but often in performance it goes Republican. But Steve, your thoughts on that?
At the risk of offending Bruce with sounding partisan, let me speak to what Peyton did represent when we reflect as far as Rio Nuevo was concerned, when he was supposed to be representing the taxpayers of this community. He's responsible for about $72 million in lawsuits and litigation against the taxpayers of this community, which are about to be dismissed, and it will demonstrate what an absolute waste of taxpayers' money that was. He tried to steal home rule from us in this community by passing legislation that tried to change the way we did our elections down here. They lost that in court, another waste of taxpayers' money. He's the architect, when he was on the Rio Nuevo board, of an attempt at a $150 million slush fund that would have taken taxpayer money and put it into the Rio Nuevo coffers. That is going to cling to him as he moves forward in his campaign, and I think that the message is going to be, when you look at Jonathan Peyton, when it comes to creating good public policy, the answer is I will do Jonathan Peyton whatever is good for Jonathan Peyton first.
Yeah, or Jonathan Peyton's clients. And when he was lobbying for the town of Marana, he basically caused the state legislature to pass a bill which cheated Pima County out of tens of millions of dollars in the sewage treatment plant that they had built, and attempted to give it to Marana. Now that's still in the courts, and we'll see how that ends up. But yeah, he was no friend of Tucson and Pima County.
All right, last word on this one, Bruce.
Well, Jonathan Peyton will win this election because this afternoon the Navajo Tribal Nation endorsed him. That's the last nail in the coffin. And frankly, Ann Kirkpatrick is no friend of the Navajo Nation. She's against coal. She's against the coal-fired plant that's up in the Four Corners. She is bad for that region, and I predict that even conservative Democrats all through the out counties, in Gila and Apache and Navajo, down in Graham County, they're all going to vote in the majority for Jonathan Peyton. He's got this election won. He's worked very, very hard. He knows this district. He has worked this district every bit as hard as Rick Renzi did when he first ran in 2002 and narrowly won that election.
All right, and then we have the congressional race down here in southern Arizona, Congressional District 2, Congressman Ron Barber facing challenger Martha McSally. Jeff, final arguments here. Martha McSally is saying that she's the true heir of Gabby Giffords.
Well, that's absolutely laughable. I mean, if you look at the people who've represented that district, Jim Colby, Gabby Giffords, and even before that, she even compared herself to Mo Udall. This is a woman who adamantly opposes abortion, even in the cases of rape and incest. She has said so in twice on questionnaires in the last 6 months. She's someone who would vote immediately, she says, to overturn the part of the health bill that says that employers must provide coverage for women's contraception. She has said multiple times that she would vote to defund Planned Parenthood. So she is in no way comparable to Gabrielle Giffords, and I think we're all offended that she would even compare herself to that. And she's in no way is she actually a friend of women and the women's vote and women's health. Now, I do respect her wonderful combat service for this country, but that doesn't entitle her to represent the voters of southern Arizona in a district that we can all agree pretty much is a pretty moderate district, pretty much down the middle, as you can see, from a very moderate Republican like Colby and a very moderate Democrat like Gabrielle Giffords. So, she in no way represents this district, and I would be embarrassed to say that she's in any way comparable to Giffords.
All right, and I would say that she, in conversations with me, has walked back the rape and incest and saying she would support abortion in that area.
She filled out two questionnaires for the Center for Arizona Policy on March 25th and June 12th of this year, in which in both cases she said that, and she would only, in the case of a woman's life at risk. And the Center for Arizona Policy has now clarified and said they allow people to go ahead and write in. And I've found Republican candidates who actually wrote in.
Yeah, Jeff Flake has done that.
He's done that, actually.
Trent, in the past, you've been a little skeptical about whether Martha McSally could do what
she's ran an excellent campaign, and I think most of the part, I don't think that I just think that she's going to do way better than I thought she was going to do. I think that, and I'm not saying that I discounted her at all. I just thought that the wins were going to be such against her that she wasn't going to do as well. But she's fought hard. She's fought long. She's won supporters. I think that she's definitely made herself that she's going to, if she continues to be in this community, she'll have a big political career. I think she may fall short this time, but I think that she's acquitted herself well. And I think that she's shown weakness in is that seat's not going to be owned by Democrats. It's going to be hard fought all the time, no matter who runs for it.
And that is a Republican district. It's slight Republican edge in that
tough district. But
and,
the other thing that she's done is she's been dishonest about her beliefs and her statements in the past. I mean, when she had debates with Jesse Kelly and others running, she said there's not a dime's worth of difference between us. I'm preaching to the choir. She agreed with all of the Tea Party aspects of his platform and in essence admitted there wasn't a difference between them. And now she's running away from that and failing to take any position on any issue. I mean, she's learned a lot from Mitt Romney in this campaign. Run hard to the right and pretend you're somebody else, and then suddenly discover the more moderate version of yourself.
Bruce, this CD2 race, how's that going to go on Tuesday?
Well, first of all, I'm not going to radicalize this election the way that Jeff has just done. This election is not about reproductive rights. It's about a representative for CD2. Who in this particular case is uniquely qualified to play a very, very significant role in the next term, and that is to help maintain the funding for Davis-Monthan Air Force Base and Fort Huachuca, both part of a very, very vibrant southern Arizona economy. It's not about women's reproductive rights, it's about the economy. That's what this election's about. The other side have no arguments for the last 4 years. Ron Barber's a decent guy. He's been a wonderful public servant. He's not up to this job. Send Martha McSally to Congress, and I think we're going to have somebody like Gabrielle Giffords who's going to be able to serve this community with distinction, much the way that Gabby Giffords did, much the way that Jim Colby and Mo Udall did before her.
And Steve, you would disagree with Ron Barber being up for the job.
Oh, I certainly would disagree, but it's nice to see that you've calmed down. I watched those forums, and I saw Martha McSally, big on generalities. I mean, I wrote down the quotes during the forums. It was things like, I want to get this done, or I'm committed to this, or I want to learn this stuff. And, big on the generalities, but she was specific in saying that she would support the irresponsible Grover Norquist no tax pledge. She also agreed with Paul Ryan, saying that we want to cut Pell Grants by 42%. Look, I was thinking about this race last week, and I was thinking, when I was about 10 years old, my dad hosted Gerald Ford at the Iona State Fair in Michigan. Jerry Ford was walking around doing the stuff, meeting the people in small-town Michigan, shaking the hands and learning the issues. He was a centrist Republican back then who was not afraid to reach across party lines and create good public policy irrespective of partisanship. He was also very responsible for the healing of this nation in the post-Watergate and post-Vietnam era. I think of the parallels to Ron Barber, who I know has made the rounds to the Sonoitas and Patagonias and Elgins and the border towns, meeting the people, shaking hands, learning the issues, and working the issues. He is a centrist Democrat who has already demonstrated the willingness and the ability to reach across party lines and create good public policy, irrespective of partisanship. And as we all know, he was very responsible and significant in the healing of this community in the post-January 8 shootings. To the extent that those parallels are relevant, it just increases my respect for the man as a human being and as a congressman.
All right. We've got the race here, the Senate race between Frank Antinori and David Bradley. This is one where Frank Antinori, very outspoken member of the state Senate, has served in a very Republican district in the past, now finds himself in a competitive district with a slight Democratic edge in a real fight against David Bradley, a former state lawmaker. Bruce, how's this one going to play out on Tuesday night?
All Frank Antinori has done for the last several years is keep his campaign promises. He promised to eliminate the deficit. He promised to create a surplus. He promised to help create more jobs in the state of Arizona. And he's done those things. All David Bradley did when he got to the state legislature was keep voting for every spending bill and increase the size of government and help create a $3 billion deficit here in the state, which I have to say, regrettably, that Republicans helped contribute to as well, but not Frank Antinori. Antonori has been a responsible lawmaker since he got to the state legislature. You can criticize Frank Antonori for maybe some bluster and some boisterousness. Frank Antonori had his name on almost 100 bills in the last legislature. Nearly half of them passed and were signed by the governor. That's a pretty effective legislator for our area. And to not have somebody from this region in Pima County serving in the Arizona State Legislature, if Mr. Bradley were to win, really creates quite a deficit for Pima County for representation at the state legislature that we so desperately need.
And Steve, you've clashed with Frank on a number of occasions regarding city-state issues.
A bit, but I am tired of hearing the mantra that they've done such a swell job in balancing the budget. The fact of the matter is that the legislature in the last 2 years has balanced the budget on the backs of the cities and the counties. They have thrown thousands and thousands of the most needy people in this state off of the health care rolls. They have gutted public education and come out of the end of the legislative sessions bragging about the fact that they've still got money left in the cookie jar that could have gone to the people that they just tossed out of the health care of the health care. Yeah, I understand, Bruce, but let me finish. The fact of the matter is they left $1 billion of federal money on the table while they threw people off the health care rolls. They got luminaries like Al Melvin, who just defies natural selection, running around saying that the way we ought to fund public education in this state is making our communities into plutonium waste dumps. Now, that's just irresponsible.
That's
and
not
that's,
what Al Melvin said at all.
I'm
Steve,
sorry.
you know that.
I'm sorry. That it's a fact that he wants to draw in.
He wants to reprocess.
He wants to turn Saddlebrook into a plutonium waste dump.
He's never said it would be anywhere close to Saddlebrook. Steve, you're making that up again.
No, I'm not making it up, Bruce. This is the way the guy thinks. But we're talking about the Antonori Bradley race.
Get back to the.
I'll get back to that
sooner or later.
Yeah, we'll quit interrupting then. The fact is that David Bradley, while he was up in the legislature, demonstrated the ability and the inclination to reach across party lines and say everybody's got to take a piece of the pain in terms of balancing the budget. Instead of gutting public education, the guy said, "I want to fully fund STEAM education, science, technology, engineering, the arts, and math." And instead of tossing people out of the health care rolls, he said, "I want to bring families back together and fully fund foster care programs." This is going to be a blowout, and I just think Frank has had his day, and David Bradley's the right guy.
Well, I'll chime in just a little bit here. I think David Axelrod said that he would shave off his mustache of 40 years. It just happens that I have had a mustache for 40 years. If Antonori wins this race, I'll shave off my 40-year mustache. And the only other thing I can add to that is that, it's instructive to know that they have hundreds of thousands of dollars in what's called the Republican Victory Fund, which is designed to help Republican lawmakers win races. And Frank Antonori can't even convince Steve Pierce and the people who control that fund to help him win this race. I think other than Bruce, there's fairly strong bipartisan agreement that it's time for Frank Antonori to go.
All right, we have a mustache wager on the table. Trent, anything you want to lay down?
One thing I want to say to Steve is how is that streetcar federal money going to work out for this community? You took that money and we're going to bankrupt the community on that. So you need to be careful about saying, we need to take all the federal money we can get, because it always comes with strings, and sometimes it can be a bad thing.
And tell that to the voters who approved it, Trent.
I'm just saying that
get your facts right.
You took the money, Steve. That streetcar belongs to you as much as anybody else on the council or this people.
Most of the voters, they voted.
Yeah, exactly.
There's all kinds of things in that bill that aren't going to see the light of day.
That was a $2.1 billion RTA
and it's
voter approved
bankrupt
package.
Our community, and you did nothing to let people know what's going to happen.
And it has nothing to do with the Bradley Antonori race or the Tucson City Council approving it.
Let's switch over to the Board of Supervisors race. We've only got about 4 minutes left on the program, but we have Allie Miller versus Nancy Young-Wright in the race to replace Ann Day on the Pima County Board of Supervisors. Trent, how do you see this one playing out?
I've heard polling says 8-9 points for that's where it's 8-9 points for
Allie Miller.
Allie Miller, sorry. But yeah, so that's that, and that sounds right for that district, and I think that's the way it's going to go. I mean, people have rejected Nancy Young-Wright before in that district, and they're going to do so again.
Well, in parts of that district, they elected her to the state legislature, and only in what we can say was an overwhelming bad year for Democrats all across the nation.
Did she lose this year either?
So yeah, she lost the same seat that she had previously won. She's an outstanding candidate who's going to appeal to, I think, moderate women Republican voters and a lot of moderate independents. And I think that race is going to be very close, too tight to call. What the 8% is about what the registration difference is Democrats to Republicans. So if everybody comes in and votes a straight ticket, Trent is right, but we don't think that's going to happen.
Bruce, how about District 3, the Sharon Bronson versus Tanner Bell race? Where
Tight race, it's tightening up. Tanner Bell is a great candidate. All Sharon Bronson has after 16 years serving as District 3 supervisor is 16% unemployment, way high poverty, food stamps, prostitution, crime rampant throughout District 3 neighborhoods, and really nothing to show when you look at the job growth in Pima County versus Maricopa County. We had about 800 net job growth versus Maricopa County with nearly 70,000. Sharon Bronson is the chairman, for TRIO. I think that's a big problem for Sharon. It's going to be a very tight election, and a lot of money is being spent to help Tanner Bell.
Steve, the District 3 race on the Board of Supervisors here.
Well, you should have read the paper this morning. You would have gotten your facts right as far as the jobs are concerned, but that's okay. Tanner is growing as a candidate. I think that he needs to quit bragging about being a part of the API suit against the city of Tucson. It's not going to serve him well. He also ought to start distancing himself from some of the radio talk show hosts that he's clinging to, because these guys are just nothing but negativity, and I think the people in this community are just tired of that.
All right, 1 minute left. Presidential race. Bruce, your prediction, who's going to be our next president?
Mitt Romney, probably 300 electoral votes or more.
I think Romney takes Ohio, and he doesn't need Ohio, but he'll get it, and that'll put him over the top.
I agree with Bruce about the 300 electoral votes. I think that's about right, but I think it's clearly, and if you watch what's going on the last 3 to 5 days, it's clearly going to be Obama.
Steve?
I think Romney will win.
Okay. That's it for our show this evening, but you can learn more about what's happening in politics by visiting azpm.org. The crew down here has assembled a tremendous number of interviews with candidates and other resources to help you make an informed vote on November 6th. To find out the latest from AZPM, follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and stay tuned next for the News Hour, and then at 8:30, tune into Arizona Week for even more news about next week's election. On election night, Arizona Public Media will be bringing you the latest local and national results right here on PBS 6 and on our radio station NPR 89.1, so be sure to tune in. And next Friday on the Roundtable, we'll look about how the dust is settling in the wake of the election. We'll see you then. I'm Jim Ninsel. Thanks for watching, and have a great weekend.